Not everything that lives in your heart needs to escape through your lips. Not every truth needs an audience. And not every person who listens to you is listening for your good. This is a story about trust, about silence, and about the cost of sharing too much. Chapter 1: The Open Heart. There was once a man named Arav. Arav was known for one thing above all else: his honesty. He spoke what he felt, he shared what he knew, and he trusted people easily. If something hurt him, he spoke about it. If something excited him, he announced it. If he had a plan, a dream, or a fear, he shared it without hesitation. People admired him for this. He has a pure heart, they said. He has nothing to hide. And Arav believed that honesty was strength, that transparency was courage, that silence was weakness. But life has a different curriculum. Arav worked in a modest company. He wasn't the smartest, he wasn't the fastest, but he had ideas, big ones. Every lunch break, he would sit with his colleagues sharing his thoughts. "I have an idea that could change how we do this project," he would say. "I'm thinking of starting something on my own someday," he would confess. "I'm worried I'm not doing enough in life," he would admit. They listened, they nodded, they smiled. And Arav mistook listening for loyalty. He mistook smiles for support. What he didn't understand was this: some people listen to learn from you. Others listen to use you. One day, Arav shared an idea he had worked on for months. It was creative, original, powerful. He spoke about it casually, as if it were just another thought. A few weeks later, that same idea was presented in a meeting. But it wasn't Arav presenting it. It was someone else. The room applauded. The manager praised. Opportunities followed. Arav sat frozen, confused, hurt, silent. When he confronted the person later, they smiled and said, "You shared it openly. I thought it was for everyone." That was the day Arav learned his first lesson. Not everyone who listens is your ally. The betrayal hurt deeply. So Arav did what he always did. He talked about it. He shared his pain, his anger, his disappointment. He told people how broken he felt, how unfair life was, how lost he had become. Some people comforted him. Others stored the information quietly, and some used it later. Because when people know your wounds, they also know where to strike. Months later, during another disagreement at work, someone said casually, "You always overthink things. That's why you feel lost in life, remember?" They laughed. Others joined. Arav remembered telling them about his insecurities, about his self-doubt, about his fears. What he shared in vulnerability returned as mockery. What he shared in trust returned as judgment. That was the day Arav learned his second lesson. Your personal struggles are not entertainment. One evening, exhausted and confused, Arav sat alone on a park bench. An old man sat beside him. They didn't speak at first. Then the old man said gently, "You look like someone who gives too much." Arav laughed bitterly. "I just believe in honesty." The old man nodded. "Honesty is good," he said. "But wisdom is knowing where to place it." Arav asked, "What do you mean?" The old man replied, "Not every door deserves your key. Not every ear deserves your truth. and not every heart is capable of holding your story. The old man drew 3 circles on the ground with a stick. The first circle, he said, is for the world. This is where you share facts, surface thoughts, nothing that can harm you if repeated. The second circle is for friends. Here you share emotions, experiences, but not your deepest fears or future plans. The third circle, the old man paused, is very small. This is for earned trust. Only a few people belong here, people who have proven over time that they protect your silence as much as they respect your words. Arav listened carefully. And if someone hasn't earned that place? He asked. The old man smiled. Then silence is not secrecy. It is self-respect. From that day on, Arav changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but consciously. He stopped explaining himself to everyone, stopped sharing plans before they were built, stopped turning every emotion into a conversation. When asked intrusive questions, he smiled and said, "I'm figuring things out." When people demanded details, he replied, "Time will tell." At first, it felt uncomfortable. Silence felt like hiding. But slowly, he realized something powerful. Silence was protecting him. Without constant opinions, Arav began to think clearly. Without constant sharing, his ideas grew stronger. Without outside noise, his confidence returned. He worked quietly, planned patiently, built steadily. And this time, he shared nothing until it was done. Months later, Arav presented a finished project, complete, refined, unstealable. The room was silent. Then, impressed. The same people who once ignored him now asked questions. How did you think of this? When did you plan this? Why didn't you tell us earlier? Arav smiled gently. Some things grow better in silence. Chapter 11. The Final Lesson. Trust is not about how much you share, it's about who you share with. Oversharing doesn't make you real, it makes you vulnerable to the wrong people. Privacy doesn't make you distant, it makes you safe. The world doesn't need to know every detail of your life. Some stories are meant to be lived, not explained. Some dreams are meant to be protected, not announced. And some truths are meant to stay within you, until you find someone who knows how to honour them. So remember this, don't share everything. Not because you're afraid, but because you are wise. Not because you don't trust, but because trust must be earned. Silence is not weakness, it is strength in disguise. And the strongest people you'll ever meet are often the quietest ones in the room.